Welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
This is so exciting. It's our new setup.
This is very exciting. We're in the same place, but we're also in different locations. We're both here doing the podcast, but we are indeed in separate locations probably about 30 miles apart. But thank God for modern technology because we're all here. It's like nothing changed.
It's like nothing changed. Just a regular old podcast recording.
Just a regular old podcast recording. And I guess we should talk about why we're going this route, why we are doing this online. This is kind of a test run.
Yeah.
This is a test run. We've done 100 episodes now.
Yes.
And what do I always say about when people ask me about video content and stuff? I say you got to make 100 videos.
Right.
Before you come up with any conclusions.
Right.
I think that might be a little bit. I don't think you really need to make 100, maybe like 50, but we did 100 podcast episodes, and I think we've talked about a lot of the things that we know about. So I think it's time to get some more guests on. So that's why we are giving this a test run, seeing how this all works, and hopefully it's going to really be awesome because we got some really cool people that we want to bring on the show and talk to. And and still the same old squirreliness and all that good stuff.
Oh, of course.
You can't do without that.
Well, it's at the core of what we do.
It is who we are and what we do. What kind of chair situation you got there? It looks like it has an extremely high back. It almost looks like a throne-ish.
It's I guess now that you're saying it does look taller than whatever you're sitting in because I cannot see whatever you're sitting in.
Yes.
But it's like a nice, comfy office chair. I've had it for many years. I do think that the paint colors that we have remarkably similar.
They really are. We didn't even plan this at all, and I think very soon we'll have kind of at least me. I got some plans for my little bit of a wall back here, and it's going to be much better than what it is right now. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
I am pretty excited.
Trial run. This is just a dry run. Yeah. See how it goes.
Yeah. So, and then today on this episode, we also have some really cool stuff that we're going to talk about because it was recently brought to my attention that it's my 9-year anniversary at Premier Outdoor Living, thanks to LinkedIn. It's remarkable how many messages I got. Yeah. You know how it prompts you and it just says, do you want to send a message saying, congrats on your work anniversary? I got 100 messages that just said, congrats on your work anniversary. So that was cool.
That's so nice.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's so beyond, beyond personal, but it was still nice, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice
for you to see more so.
Oh. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not totally, but I did get a couple actual personal messages, people that popped up, and then they took that opportunity to actually backspace the congrats on your work anniversary and write an actual note, and that was nice. That was very nice.
That is nice. I told you in person. I saw it on LinkedIn, and then I said, "Hey, Sean, it's your 9th anniversary. Congratulations!" So
that was probably the nicest comment I got about it, to be honest. It was the only one in person I got. So, yeah, you had that going for you. But, yeah, we're going to talk about lessons learned over those 9 years. That was your idea. You were like, what have you learned? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I've learned anything. But there actually has been some really good lessons learned over 9 years. I mean, I compiled a couple of them, but it's going to kind of be an order of what I learned in the beginning and then kind of the evolution as the business grew, the different lessons I learned. So I picked 5 really good ones, I think, and we're going to talk about those.
Yeah. And I hope that one of my suggestions was maybe since 9 years is such a
random number.
It's a random number, and it's the one before 10 years. 10 years is the big, So I hope you thought of one goal or thing. I don't want to say lesson you want to learn because that's not how that works, but
yeah,
what you want to accomplish for the next year. What's your goal there? So
yeah,
I'm into it.
I think that that's going to be great. And another thing that I just thought about, even though right now I'm drinking a polar seltzer, it's going to be nice. We can maybe get back to like actually doing this like a happy hour, because the big problem that we came across was like,
Yeah.
you can't have like 6 beers and then drive home from the podcast studio. So
Correct.
we would maybe have like 1 or maybe 2 on some occasions. So now
Yeah.
we're both in the comfort of our own homes, and we can really tie one on if we want and get get squirrely. So
We sure can.
there's just so much on the horizon here that's going to be good.
Yeah, this
think.
is really exciting, and I think that I hope people will suggest who they would like us to bring on the podcast as a guest, because this really does open a lot of avenues for us to contact people and get them on our podcast. So I hope people will reach out with ideal guests for us to bring on.
Yeah. Who's your like number one dream guest that you'd love to have on?
You know, I've made a list of who I want, and you know, there are a lot of good people in there. But the one person that I think would be a really interesting person for us to have on is Daniel from This Is Asheville. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
He works in the UK, and I just feel like it would be really interesting for us to now, like, not only can we bring, like, we're never going to run into him at a show.
No.
And I just feel like they do things so differently.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that would be great. I think that would be a great guest. When you first brought him up to me, you did mention at least a few times how handsome he was, and
He's very handsome.
He's very handsome.
He's incredibly handsome. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything cooler than a British accent?
There isn't.
There really isn't.
I don't I think he seems very intelligent, so I'm sure that what he is saying is very intelligent, but he could be saying anything, and I'd be like, wow.
Yeah.
You
I think
like
pretty much anybody over there could, but that would be a really cool guest to have. I was going just like, a dream guest would be Mike Rowe. Dirty Jobs.
Oh, just like straight to the top. That would be really cool.
Straight to the top. I mean, right. I think that would be super cool. I know he's super involved with the trades and getting young people into that career. So I think that would just be like a super cool guest to have on. So fingers crossed. Maybe eventually. Who knows?
How many emails do you think like we'll send to like bug him to get on there, to like for him to cave and give in?
I think less than 100.
All right. I'll start.
So
I'll start tomorrow.
Get started on that. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking about today is the lessons I've learned throughout the years, and kind of in order, like from just starting out to growing to where we have now, and then talking about what we're looking to do to get to the next level.
Yeah.
You always got to be growing, evolving.
Yeah.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Exactly. Before we get into it, do you want to talk about like what's going on this week? What's going on next week?
Oh yeah.
What do you got going on?
Not much, just going to Jamaica, man. I promise I'm not gonna do that when I'm there.
You
but
think?
if you've, I mean, probably, but if you've seen The Office, I've brought this up many times already, like getting a couple like beads in my hair.
God, I
and anybody that's seen The Office, when Michael Scott comes back and he's got like 3 beads in his hair, that's pretty great. So I probably will do that. It's for the Decorators Pro Summit, this trip. So we're leaving Tuesday, coming back Friday. Should be pretty cool. I always get stressed out like leaving for stuff like this because I don't know, there's just always so much to do, like, work to be done, videos to make, just the business stuff to be businessed, know?
Yeah.
So, but usually it's only leading up to that. Once I get there, it'll be really cool. Be hanging out with a lot of cool people at the Decorators event and everything. So, and I've never been to Jamaica, so should be pretty cool.
Yeah. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah. You're going to hold it down? You're going to hold it down while I'm gone?
I think so. Yeah. I think we'll be all right.
Okay. Great.
We're going to have the whole roof done by the time you get back. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Because I wasn't looking forward to doing that. So
Perfect.
Now that would be great because also Ant is expecting a child in like the next 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
it would really be great if before he's gone that roof is done. That would really be good.
Yeah, that would be good
But
timing.
we'll see. If not, we can handle it. It'll lead to some great content. So
Definitely.
what do you got going on this week? Besides just picking up all the slack that I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, mostly that. That's really it. Uh, you know, when you leave, there's a, there's a opportunity to focus on certain things, and
What is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean?
just like general focus,
Just like
be able
yeah.
to
Okay.
sit down and do things.
Just like actually work. Yeah.
Just like it works
Yeah.
on you.
That makes sense.
So yeah, and it's like it is fun to creatively do things. Like when you're not there for the video, we all have to kind of get together and like kind of think of something else. Like what else can we do? What else can we do to make this interesting? So
Yeah.
those are always fun challenges. So I think it's just going to be business as usual, but minus Sean.
Cool. I can't wait to see it. That's what I really love about going away and then coming back and seeing. It's always a surprise what the video is going to be. So
Yeah.
I love that, and I've got all the faith in the world in all of you. So I think it's going to be amazing. And should we get into the meat and the potatoes here?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you learn, Sean?
Oh, I've learned so much. And this is just a few things that kind of stuck out to me from. And I tried to really think about it like in order, like what were those big revelations I had just as I was starting, and then they kind of build on top of each other to get where you are now. Everything that you do in business is usually from a mistake that you made or just some sort of revelation that you had, like, wow, now I see this thing that has been holding me back. So I guess we'll start out from the top. And a lot of people already know that I got into this just kind of happenstance. Like I was doing landscaping and then got an opportunity to do a really cool design build project in a backyard, and I just loved it, and I wanted to jump right into it. And my biggest thing when I started out was I wanted to do decks, patios, backyards, that kind of thing, but I didn't want to do just your everyday run of the mill 12 by 12 deck, 12 by 12 patio. And I really had to think about how am I going to just get into business and skip all of that like boring introductory kind of stuff. And what I came up with is you have to do something different. You have to come at this with a different angle or a different strategy. You just have to think about it in a different way, because if you don't, you're just going to follow like the normal progression of you're going to start with the lowest hanging fruit, the really simple small jobs that the bigger companies don't want to do, and you're going to have to kind of like crawl your way up to being the person that does that really cool unique stuff. And I didn't want to do that, so I knew I had to do something different from the beginning. And my whole thing was we're just going to build these cool projects. Like that's how we're going to start. And to do that, I had to just kind of forget about the budget, the what the people could afford, and really just try to find people that were like, hey, I see your vision for this. I'm going to let you run with it. And whether the budget was 15,000 or 20,000, back in those days, that was like, okay, I can do a lot with this. I didn't have a lot of overhead or personal, financial responsibilities. It was pretty simple back then. So I could do a lot with a really small budget. And that was the biggest thing kind of going into it that I learned just from kind of thinking about how am I going to get to this point where I'm just doing these unique projects. And the thing I came up with in that initial stage of business was you have to do something different. And I think it really helped that I never worked for somebody else that did the same exact kind of thing. I was never that close to it where I felt like I had to follow a certain blueprint. And I think when you can come with that outside perspective and just kind of, say, hey, I really like doing this. How can I, you know, get the opportunity to just build really cool projects? When you don't have any preconceived ideas of how it's supposed to be done, it kind of makes it a lot easier in a lot of ways because you're like, you can see it a little bit clearer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. When you like you say that you knew immediately you had to do something different.
Yeah.
Was that just because, like, did you know that doing something different was going to like set you apart and you wanted to do it that way, or was it like, this is the only thing, I'm never going to make it past year one if I don't do what I want to do?
A little bit of both. I mean, I was just never interested in, like, I mean, I don't want to say that I don't love the building aspect of what we do because I do like it, but the only reason I like the building aspect of it is because we get to see this really cool thing at the end
Mm-hmm.
that we all put a lot of effort and thought and vision into. It doesn't bring me a whole lot of satisfaction to just build something that's like pretty straightforward, and like just the act of building itself isn't really what fulfills me. It's building that thing that really like pushes your limits and makes you think and scratch your head, and like when you're done you step back and say, wow, this is awesome, all this hard work paid off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that I would have been able to last and really push through if we were just doing the boring stuff. And I also knew that, going that route, which a lot of people do because, it's hard to make those sacrifices in the beginning. It'll take 10 to 15 years to like build a reputation or a portfolio of really cool projects. Like, if you're just doing any deck and patio that comes along, one out of every 20, you might get the opportunity to do something really cool and unique, but it's going to take a long time to, develop a portfolio of those type of really cool projects to be able to sell them exclusively. And then when you get in that mindset of, we do decks and patios, we do backyards, whatever it is, and you're willing to take that kind of stuff, then it's really hard to take yourself out of that. So I thought from the beginning, we got to do something different, um, and just figure out a way to kind of bypass a lot of that, like years and years and years of like waiting for that cool project to come along. I wanted to figure out a way
Mm-hmm.
of bringing that to me.
Yeah, it's very, very good forethought on your tiny young entrepreneur brain.
Yeah, God, thank you so much because my brain was a lot smaller back then. It seems like, and it made it so much easier. I think the thing that really helped me in the beginning was like I wasn't I wasn't coming at this with, this is going to be the best way to make a lot of money. It was like, I really really like this. This is fun. I love doing this, and I want to figure out a way to do this. And I had in my head like, there is a way to be successful at this, and I think that will come, but that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the number one thing that was driving me. It was, I love doing this. I'm really passionate about this. And whenever you can find something like that, and you can kind of like harness it, I think that's where it just becomes a lot easier because you're willing to put in all the hard work because it doesn't feel as hard because you're just loving everything that you're doing. So I kind of went on a tangent there. I don't know did I answer anything that you were asking there?
Yes. Do you want to sum up that first lesson into like
A little sound
a
bite.
little package like you usually do?
Well, I'm gonna have to really get, usually I only have to do that at the end, and and it
You got
doesn't
a
really
bunch of
have
them
to
this
make that
time.
much sense. So yeah, I think, when you're starting anything, the easiest way to do it and to create your own brand is to just do something different. Like if you're just doing everything exactly the same way as everybody else, you're competing with everybody else. And yeah, there might be a bigger market for that, but you're just kind of lost in a sea of everybody else that's doing the same thing. If
Hmm.
you can step outside of that and figure out a way to do something different and figure out a way to tell people about that thing that makes you different, then you're kind of standing by yourself. You might have a more limited market, but you're the only one in that market. So I think that anytime you can do something like that, find something that sets you apart, that makes you different, it just makes everything else so much easier because you're not necessarily competing with everybody that kind of feels like they're doing the same thing as you. Like, there's a lot of people that are building backyards, but I feel like in our area, if you want exactly what we do, there's a lot of people doing super cool stuff, but we have kind of a very unique look and feel and experience to what we do. So I think that makes us different and we stand alone there, and we're not going to be a fit for everybody, but it makes it easier for the people we are a fit for.
Yeah.
Was that condensed nicely enough?
Yes, you did a great job.
What I was kind of envisioning in my head was like a Ferrero Rocher, trying to wrap it like one of those. Those are so nice.
Those are so nice.
Underrated
candy. You never go to the store and see one of them?
Well, you don't. I don't know if underrated would really be the word for it, because I feel like everyone puts them on a pedestal and reveres them with a great deal of respect. There's a lot of respect on that candy.
Okay, yeah. Underutilized is more what I was thinking.
But that's the beauty of it. It's a special occasion candy.
You think?
I mean, if you're just eating Ferrero Rochers all the time, it's like...
Oh, why can't you? What's stopping you?
Because I'm not like the king of England, I just don't live that lifestyle. But hey, that's neither here nor there. I guess you could, but I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be as special. You know what isn't underrated candy? A Toblerone.
Oh,
what?
Gross.
Seriously?
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
I don't even know what's in it, but it's so unique.
Whatever those little
triangles. I think it's coffee.
Those little bits they always get stuck in your teeth.
Oh yes, that's part. You could taste it for hours.
Gross. No.
Anyway, yeah. Well, that's what I got on my first lesson. That was my first big impact thing that I think changed everything for me.
All right. Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Does one of your lessons have to do with sacrifice, what you had to sacrifice in order to do that? Because if not, I think we should maybe touch on that. Or,
no, none of the other ones do. I think that sacrifice thing, and I think I know kind of what you're getting at. I always talk about this. I mean, it's one of my, you kind of know all the things I say all the time, whether I'm on a design call, there's a couple lines I'll always try to pepper in there, but you always have to sacrifice something to get where you want to be in business or in life or anything, and it's just a matter of what you're going to sacrifice. So if you get into business and you just care about the profit and the bottom line, you're going to sacrifice being able to do those really cool projects, because you're just going to take what comes along and just make sure that it's super profitable. And it's going to be really hard to break out of that and take a chance on a project where you might take a loss or you might not make as much. So if you're just going into it for profit, you're sacrificing that. You're sacrificing that ability to build that portfolio that you can only build when you take chances. Mm-hmm. And the sacrifice that I took was time and money. I decided right from the beginning, for the first 1.5 to 2 years, I'm not going to worry about anything. What happened? What just happened?
I have a rabbit in here.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of cords happening under. It looks very neat right here, but a lot of cords under here, and he just got absolutely tangled in them. And
nice. Do you want to give a shout out in a little screen time to your?
A little. He's kind of running around like crazy right now. I don't know if I can grab him, but
okay. Well, maybe
if
later.
he comes back, I'll show you him.
Okay, great.
He's quite cute, but sorry, that was distracting. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
So I was kind of wrapping it up anyway. You have to sacrifice something. I decided for the first year and a half to 2 years, I'm not going to worry about, how much we're charging for the projects. I'm only going to worry about developing a portfolio and a reputation. And, the more the budgets did creep up within that 2 years, but it just gave me the opportunity to do more with it. So I intentionally kept all my overhead really low, lived very simply, didn't have a huge mortgage or anything like that, and decided that is going to be my sacrifice. And it didn't even really feel like a huge sacrifice at the time because I was having fun doing it. I was really enjoying myself. I was in like the best shape of my life then because I was actually like didn't have any machinery and was just like doing everything and working a lot. So I was just having a great time doing it, and it didn't feel so much like a sacrifice, but I was sacrificing a lot of time and a lot of potential profit because I was just the amount that we were charging for like some really cool projects in the beginning were like it was laughable. I mean, it was like if you broke it down, I'd be making like less than $15 an hour, probably like $10 an hour. But it didn't feel like, I knew that it was to build towards something bigger. So it didn't feel like it was just all for nothing. Like I'm just breaking down my body to just make $9 an hour. It felt like I'm building towards this goal and this vision. So it made it a lot easier, but it was still a huge sacrifice. And you got to make a sacrifice to get anything that you want. So you just have to decide what is that sacrifice you're willing to make. And, that can be tough for a lot of people. A lot of people see this like, coach type of, culture that's out there where it's like, all you have to do is just like, buy this course and you'll be fine and you'll figure it out. And I got all the secrets for you. It's not like that. And you have to sacrifice something. And in that route, you're going to sacrifice your money because you're going to pay a lot for these things that may or may not bring any benefit to you. So,
yeah.
I hate when I see that kind of stuff that makes it like, hey, this is going to be easy if you just follow my agenda, because it's not going to be easy. You gotta make sacrifices, and that goes for everything in life. So,
yeah,
sorry to break that to you if you felt like or maybe we just don't know what we're talking about and we just do things the hard way. I don't know. But
yeah, I think it's hard for people, like young people who want to go out on their own. They hear like, oh, it's great. And like you sacrifice, but it all makes it worth it. But then like they really get into it and they're like, oh no, I have to like really sacrifice something. And like for you, you were a young man. You didn't have like a family or children or anything. You were just kind of on your own, doing your own thing. So no offense, but you were only responsible for yourself mostly. So there's like
Sarah. I had Sarah with me.
Yeah, but she had a job. She wasn't. Yeah, she was handling herself.
Yeah. I had Ziggy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Ziggy
okay, he's kind of dependent on you.
Yeah, he was.
But I think it's like hard to, when people think like I have to sacrifice something, it's like, well, times are already tough. How am I going to sacrifice something? But
yeah.
I suppose if you want it bad enough, you can find where that sacrifice can be.
Yeah. And I think there's also like this culture of like sacrificing stuff seems cool. It's like, oh, I'm willing to like put in the work and make those sacrifices. But then when it really comes to like doing it all the time, it's like, oh, this kind of sucks, It's like, so I would recommend find something you're really passionate about where you are making sacrifices. There is a lot of hard things to it, but at the end of the day, like you can't really like imagine doing anything else, or it just doesn't. It feels like you're driven by something other than just the profit or anything like that. Like you really feel like I love doing this. Like there isn't anything else I'd rather be doing. So
right.
That's what I got on that one. Number 1.
Okay. Well, that was a good one.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
What about number 2? What do you got?
All right, number 2. So,
and I don't mean to rush you, but we do have like the book report to do too. So
I know, and we're already like 30 minutes in here. So this is nice because I can see the timer right here.
See the timer.
And I don't have to ask. So there's so many benefits to this. I'm really liking it so far. And I can have my notes here. I got my notes right on my computer. So this is really great. It's going to just be so much better content for you. So number 2, you create the way people perceive you. So
Mm.
that was something that I started to learn. Also in the beginning, it was, we were doing the projects, we were getting pictures, and I realized that with the internet and social media and websites, you can create how people perceive you. Like if people that knew me were just like, oh, Sean's just like got this old beat up pickup truck and he just started out doing this, and he's learning as he goes. He doesn't have any equipment. He's only got one employee. Like, it's a very bare bones operation here. But if you went on our website or our social media, I realized pretty quickly that you can create the way that other people perceive you. So does that sound like a little bit like
That sounds so sketchy.
it sounds a little sketchy, but I don't mean it
I
could
know.
be used for good or for evil, and I
Yeah.
think I used it for good. Like you could go on our website like within the first year, and compared to a lot of other people in our area, like you would look at it, especially like 2 years in, we had done a couple really cool projects and got some great pictures from it. And you'd go on the website and be like, oh, they must have been in business for a long time. Like they're very high end, they're very established. And at
Mhm.
that point, like I was still like not making a lot of money at all, like figuring it out as I went. But I realized that you take that opportunity to like see all of these front facing facets of your business, like your website and your social media presence and all of that stuff, and you can create that brand and the way that people are going to perceive it, and it's
Yeah.
all in your control. So I found that so fascinating in the beginning. Like you're creating not only this business but this brand, and it's you get to make it up. You get to make it up, and eventually, your experience has to line up with that brand that you created. So, like, you can't just build a house of cards that you can't live up to, but you can build them both together. And I just thought that was super interesting, and I really was fascinated by that part of it, like the branding and the marketing. So I just thought that was really cool, that just because I'm somebody that like doesn't have a lot of experience, like doesn't really feel like I know what I'm doing in business, or just running into a lot of problems on the job and having to reach out for help for different things, you can still create this perception of your brand online that you really have this like refined business model and these refined projects. And I thought that was just really cool. And um, it was pretty early on that I realized that and was able to leverage it as best as I could.
Yeah. I think that's a great one because it's not that you want to be sketchy and not live up to the image that you put forth, but
Yeah,
if you do come across if you get in the mindset of like, oh, I'm just one guy with a beat up truck and I'm just getting started, and you promote yourself in that way, that's all you're ever going to get. That's all the work you're ever going to
exactly.
get. So it's like, I think that's a great one to really realize, like, okay, there is, you don't want to be disingenuine or like dishonest or promote yourself in a way that's, not something you're able to do,
Yeah,
but there is a sort of like ambition to it. Like, give yourself something to live up to, you know,
it's kind of
show
like
what you want to be, not where you
yeah,
are
it's kind of
necessarily.
like dress for the job you want, not the
Yeah,
job that you have. Like dress
exactly.
your website up for the jobs that you want, not the jobs that you have.
Yeah.
Um, and another thing, this is like sort of related, that I just found kind of like it was an interesting revelation in the beginning, was like there was a lot of times where I didn't have a lot of work, or like there was times where I was just sitting at home and there wasn't a job to go to, and there was opportunities to do like these simple 12 by 12 decks, or just really really simple basic stuff that would keep me busy. But I was always able to turn that stuff down, and my thinking behind it was, number one, those projects are just going to lead to more projects like that.
Mhm.
And if I'm out, I'm busy, I'm working on projects like that, and I'm not just sitting at home, like wondering where the next paycheck is going to come from, it's not going to put that pressure on me to have to think of something new, like some new idea or new way to market the business. And I really felt like I thrived in that setting where the pressure was on. Like, okay, if I really want to do this thing where I'm building these cool projects, I just turned one down that I could have made pretty good money on because it just didn't fit that idea that I had for the business. Like, now there's this fire under my seat. Like, you got to get out there and get creative, figure out a way to sell the thing that you want. Otherwise, you're not going to have a house to sit in when you don't have work. So, I thought that was really beneficial to me. I always feel like I work best under pressure, and that was like the best way to put pressure on the vision in the beginning.
Yeah.
So did that make sense?
It did. It made a lot of sense. Yeah.
This episode's tough for me. It's all, this is all on me. I feel like I'm
very, you centered. So
jeez.
talking.
Was that good enough for number 2? You create the way people perceive you.
Yeah.
Eventually that does come back. It's time to pay the piper at some point and make sure that you can live up to that thing that you've put out there. But, a lot of times I think people sell themselves short on the way that they promote themselves. So keep that in mind. You create the way people perceive you.
Definitely. That's a great one.
I feel like this is like a good outline for a book. I always wanted to write a book. I know like I really don't have enough experience or knowledge to like write a good book, but
oh well, yeah, with that attitude,
I think I'd be okay with writing like a very mediocre book, just like let's go on the bucket list. Like, I'm not looking to be an author, but it would be cool to write a book. And
you gotta get a ghostwriter. You do the outline, you get like the the stuff out there, and then they actually do the the nitty-gritty stuff.
That's a great idea. So I can just send this off this very basic thing, and cool. That's awesome. All right, we ready for number 3?
Yes.
Okay. So this was probably a couple years into business, probably like I'd say like years 3 and 4, where this idea like really fully blossomed. And that is, don't look at your client's budget from your own perspective. It's very easy to get into the mindset of like, okay, we're going to sell a backyard project. And I know the type of house that I live in. I know how much money I make. Nobody would spend $100,000 or $200,000 or $3 or $4 or $1 million on their backyard. Like, that is insane to think about when you're coming at it from the perspective of, this is what I have. This is how I was raised. Like, this is the money that my parents had when we were growing up. Like, that's kind of like that's your frame of reference when you start out, and especially when you're young and you just don't have a lot of experience dealing with a ton of different people. That's like where your frame of reference is. So I really had to break out of that. And like, there was just a lot of moments where I would be talking to somebody, like they would throw out an idea and I'd be like, oh, well, that's, if we were to do that, that'd be really expensive. Like that would add another 50,000 or so on. And they'd be like, okay, I'm okay with that. And these people were like the same age as me. And I'm like, I'm missing something because like, I can't afford that. Like,
right.
And that was a huge hurdle. Like, when you look at it from like what you think is affordable and you think is worthwhile, you're going to sell yourself short like 90% of the time, because people just have a lot of money sometimes. Like, they're either like their family was rich or they have a great job. Like, it's just not the background I came from. So it was just really hard to open my eyes to that and be like, okay, like the past like year or two, like our average project is probably $150,000 now. A couple of years ago, like when I started, it was like 100. Like, that's mind boggling to me at that point. Like, that was more than we did in the first entire year. And you just have to break yourself out of that mindset, because people are coming at it with a much different frame of reference. There's a lot of people, kind of no matter where you live, there's always these pockets of people that like have a lot of money and can afford it, and it's worth it. Like, that's what you should charge. it's
Yeah.
not bad. Like, you're not taking advantage of these people because you're charging a lot. Like, all the jobs that we do, they're a lot of work. It's worth what we charge, but it's hard to sell those jobs in the beginning because you're like, they're not going to go for that. Like, I got to find ways to cut this design back. And then you present something that's not as good as what they want, and you just lost out by trying to like save them money in your own head. So
Yeah.
That can be a tough one to learn, but it was just like such an eye opener for me. Like, when I started dealing with these people, and I'm like, what do you do for a living? Like, and we work for so many people that are like the same age as us.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm 35, so like there's a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of people have their career like together, but when I was like 27 or whatever, it was like, how are you like under 30? Like, I just got out of community college after like 9 years, like, and you are like, you own a house, like a really nice house, and you're willing to spend like $100,000 on something, it's crazy,
Yeah.
but it's not crazy. And that's what you need to realize,
Right.
I guess.
That's a good one. I like that one a lot because it is hard to get at.
Yeah.
Every time, and I feel like I still get in that like mindset where you're like, and it has happened where we're like, the countertop's going to be like $6,000, and people are like, oh, but sometimes they're like, okay, whatever. So it is kind of like, just, the information is what it is. It's not, you don't need to, buffer it for who you're presenting it to.
Exactly. And you'd be surprised sometimes, like, who the people are that are like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, that's like, and you don't know why that is. Is it just because they're cheap, or is it because like they live in a really expensive house, but they really can't afford
it's all
that
a house of cards.
Yeah. Some people that like really said yes to like everything, they live in like a modest house, and they can say yes to everything because like they're not overextending themselves. Like, they're just living within their means. They do really well for themselves, and they're like, yeah, I want a cool backyard, and yeah, I want all the bells and whistles, and I'm willing to pay for it. So always keep that in mind, as kind of a frame of reference. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah. Do you want to see this rabbit? He's trying to get my lap.
Oh yeah. And what's his name?
Figgy.
Figgy, but Pat calls him Tupac.
Pat calls him Tupac.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's him.
He's just straight chilling. What's he sniffing? Just the air?
That's what he does. Yeah.
That's pretty chill.
He's pretty cool.
Like, he'll just do rabbits normally. So for people that are listening to this audio wise, there is a rabbit in Catherine's lap right now, and it's kind of just chilling. Are they normally like that? Like, they just
I don't know.
chill?
I had a rabbit when I was a kid, but I just like trash picked this one, so I don't really know much about other rabbits. I think they're.
I feel like you're going to need to expand upon that, because you didn't actually trash pick the rabbit. You did find the rabbit, but like it was not like in a trash can. Like,
no,
that sounds.
No, he was just out in the wild. Somebody posted it on Facebook. Oh, there's this black rabbit. I don't know if it's domestic or a wild rabbit. And I heard black rabbit and was like, it's not. It's a pet. So then I went to go get it. And he was just chilling there and like, all right, guess you're my ride. Let's go. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do with a rabbit? Why do I have this thing now?
Exactly what you're doing right now. Just chilling with the rabbit.
And now he's just my pet and he's here all the time. But yeah, it's like a cat. He's litter box trained. He just he has his own room. He just hangs out. So he's pretty cool.
That's awesome. You should pull that rabbit out of a hat at some point. You should do like a magic show, but that's like your only trick.
That's all I got. The rabbit.
That's all
trick.
you got. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Anyway, what's your next one?
So next one. So those are by Figgy or Tupac. Those three were, I would say, like the foundation of the whole brand and the whole business. Like, those were the three most important things, I would say, in the beginning that kind of built the foundation for where we are now and where we're headed. Mm-hmm. And we're transitioning into a different type of lesson here. Those were the things that were important in the beginning, that really were important to learn and important to build upon. But number 4, bring people around you that complement your weaknesses.
That's a good one.
What do you think? Is
That's
that a good
great
one? Yeah.
Like Andrew Carnegie.
I figured you would like that one. And I think that for me, it was, I mean, you could always do it sooner. You could always bring those people around you sooner, but to me, it felt right. Like, cause I was still figuring out the business side of things and figuring out, you know, just everything on my own in the beginning, and like figuring out what this business was and how big is it going to be able to get, and what are the type of projects that I really love. And I felt like I had a couple years of that where I was really in charge of everything, and that was great for me to get that foundation and just figure out, you know, myself a lot more as a business owner. Like that was such a new thing to me. So I felt like that was really important, but things really changed like when I brought Anthony on board, and that felt like a huge risk at the time, like bringing somebody on with that much experience, so much more than I have. And as soon as I did, it was like, okay, this is, why didn't I do this sooner? I don't think I was ready sooner, but it was just like, okay, this person has so much more experience just being on a job site and like running an efficient operation and knowing like, let's do this to make this easier later. Like just a lot of things that you learn from being in the trades for a lot of years, that it's hard to, it just takes time to learn a lot of these things. And it was huge to bring him in with all that experience and, you know, counteract a lot of my weaknesses, which were, you know, I'm great at thinking outside the box and coming up with these ideas, but when it comes like to being an actual like builder, that's not necessarily the thing that comes naturally to me. That's something that I learned along the way, but that's not like the thing that I came into the business as my strong suit. I had to build into that, and just because I didn't have any other choice. So when he came on board, I was able to like refocus more on the things that I'm good at and delegate a lot of the on the job leadership to him, and he could take that off of my plate. So we were both essentially doing what we do best, and that was great.
Yeah.
And then Catherine came on board. And one thing that Catherine will tell you about is I'm not naturally the most organized person. And I feel like I'm actually making Catherine not the most organized person anymore either. And I just have a very, I don't know, a magnetic way about my disorganization that's just like, it's hard to be organized around me. Just in my circumference or whatever, my area.
Yeah.
That was another thing, like on the business end of things and the planning side of things and like the strategy side of things, bringing somebody in that can kind of be like my counterbalance, like just keep things like more centered. You know, it's great to come up with crazy ideas and come up with a lot of them, and a lot of them are contradictory. Like that's good to have in your mind, but it's not necessarily good at a certain point in practice in business. And I'm really great at like coming up with a lot of ideas. The one I come up with today might contradict the one that I had yesterday. And you can't act on all of them because you'll just be like spinning in a circle that's very chaotic. So like you need somebody there to be a sounding board and like kind of collaborate on the strategy stuff, the systems, so that you're kind of taking the best of the ideas that you come up with, and you're both putting work into creating the vision for moving forward. Because as the business grows, you can't just act on every single, you know, idea that you come up with. You can in the beginning. It's really easy and fun to do that, but at a certain point, you can't do that anymore. And you need somebody to kind of counteract or counterbalance your weaknesses. And I think that's what makes our working relationship so good. We are probably polar opposites from a professional perspective as far as what our strengths are.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I think there are. I think the fact that you do also come from like a creative headspace, I think that like having that little bit of um I don't know, what do you call it, like a synergy or sameness.
Symbiotic relationship. Didn't we say that before? Use that word? Symbiotic.
Yeah, I think something like that. Or just having that like similar kind of like headspace that we come from.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, it helps you understand like where I'm coming from a lot of the time when I come up with some crazy good or crazy stupid idea. And, so we're both
They're
coming from
never
like that.
crazy stuped.
I mean, there's plenty of them that have been really, really dumb.
Every idea is a good idea at some point.
It's not really. That's not true at all.
Yeah.
I've come up with lots of stupid ideas, but the only idea that's never good is the one that you don't come up with or whatever.
You don't say.
That's usually that works kind of better with jokes. The only joke that's never funny is the one that you don't say. So
right.
I will say a lot of really funny jokes, but it's because I'm willing to say a lot of ones that aren't funny at all.
Yeah.
I'm willing to deal with the crickets to get the applause. So that's kind of a life lesson right there.
Yeah, that's a good
wrapped
one.
up in that little metaphor. But we both come from that same creative headspace. But besides that, like our professional strengths, I think are polar opposites, and it helps us work together and come up with a good plan that makes sense and is still creative and is still cool and still speaks to our brand, but it's not as chaotic as it would be if I was just, driving the ship, because I'd forget I was driving the ship and I would make turns and everyone would fall off and they'd be like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm driving." Something like that.
Right. That was a great analogy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we're really running up against it here. This
yeah.
I thought it was going to be harder to talk for a long time doing this virtual, but it's making it a lot easier for some reason.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just get into the last one and then we'll get into our book review because we're running out of time. And this one doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. But it's something as you grow the business and like it becomes a little bit more successful and a little bit more there's a little bit more to lose. You have employees, you have all of this stuff, and you always need to remember, well, here it is, number 5. Always respect the fact that you are only a few bad decisions away from going out of business. So, not to alarm you, like we're not close to going out of business, Catherine.
Okay.
But, we're fine. But I think a lot of people, when they reach a certain point of success or comfort, and they can just start coasting and not look at their business or their decisions with such a focus as they did when they were trying to grow it. It just gets to a certain point and they're like, this is good. I'm enjoying this, making enough money. I'm comfortable and things are running smoothly. And it's really easy to just make a couple bad decisions or just not make a decision to like see things are changing in the industry or in the economy or anything like that. Like you can just get too comfortable and miss some big things and you could go out of business. And the bigger the company is, I think the more you need to be aware of that, because by the time you see the industry has changed or, customers are buying a different type of thing, or you're not providing the thing that, other people are, or you're just, outdated and the service or the product that you're offering is antiquated. By the time you realize that, it's too late, and it's too late to turn the ship around and go towards, where everyone else already is. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you just have to hold that with a certain amount of respect, that nothing's ever going to be comfortable and you can just cruise forever, because everything's always changing. You always need to be on the lookout for what's next and what clients want, what the industry is giving you, what technology is coming out. And if you get too comfortable, you can really be in trouble. And the bigger you are, the easier it is to lose all that. And I think it's just a good thing to always have in your head, like, oh my God, I can go out of business. But just hold that with a certain amount of respect, that nothing is promised. And what do they say? Success is rented and it's due every day or something.
I haven't heard that one.
It's on, like, you can buy like it's probably more men get those ads where it's like motivational posters that you can like put in your office, and it's like, success isn't owned, it's rented, and rent's due every day.
Oh.
And it's maybe got like a sweaty guy on it or something. I don't know. It's like really.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen that one? That hasn't popped up?
It hasn't popped up.
Maybe I'll get that for right behind me on this nice blank wall. But that's my 5 things.
Great job.
That's my 5 things. And
that was really great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I learned a lot. Now I'm going to go start my own business.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need. And I'm going to come clean. I just wrote all these down 5 minutes ago. Like literally 5 minutes ago.
Well, we've been recording for an hour, so I think it'd be an hour and 5 minutes ago.
An hour and 5 minutes ago. Because I was like, I know we're about to record the podcast. Did we pick anything that we're going to talk about? And then as I sat down to my computer, I was like, oh, that's right. It's my lessons that I learned. So I came up with them, but that's how good the lessons were. They're real lessons. They're always front of mind, and they came right out.
Good.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great job. Oh, laugh
I thought
track.
that was an applause. I thought that I now have control over the soundboard. So you might hear some, if there's a really good joke, something like that.
Did you already play with that enough to know which one's which?
Yes. Yes, I did.
They're not labeled. It's just a color.
It's just a color. And, like I said, the only joke that's never funny is the one that you don't tell. So you got to deal with to get the.
Wow.
So,
you really do know that soundboard.
I do. All right. So I think, what's next and what are the lessons that we want to learn and the vision. I think that should be its whole own episode. So let's not even get into that, because
Save for next time.
that's something we could easily riff on for, I don't know, 5 hours or whatever. That's 5 episodes.
Definitely.
Yeah. So time for our book review.
Time for our book review.
Our book review. Another manly man, alpha male book. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Be Useful. Do you want to start off? I did a lot of talking already.
I hate to be. I feel like I'm going to be negative right off the bat, and I can't.
Yeah.
Just this. He has a couple books, and I think he's written books before, like before this one. But this book. See, I just can't not be negative. I'm such a Debbie Downer, but he frames this book in the intro like he went through a very traumatic life event, and then this was how he compiled all of his life lessons that he learned throughout his life to like get his life back, his phoenix rising from the ashes moment. Do you agree with that? Is that like a fair synopsis? And then the rest of the book is like somewhat autobiographical, where he's like telling stories that happened to him and like how you can, relate that to your own life. So Arnold, I mean, everybody knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it's like, you don't really need to tell too much, but I felt like this thing that happened to him, he did to himself, and he kept saying,
what exactly was, because I don't, he says, you can Google it if you want.
You can Google it.
I'm not going to talk about it.
He was married to Maria Shriver. I think that's
who's
her name.
she's a Kennedy? Is that something?
Yes, yeah,
She's related somehow to
the
one
Kennedys.
the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Jamie Kennedy or like the
I don't
Kennedys
know.
that were like in
I'll Google it because
presidential.
I don't want to. I don't want to misspeak. But
Go ahead, Google it.
Google it. But anyway, so it just says a member of the Kennedy family. I need like a family.
We'll save that. That's not
Okay.
important. Not important at all.
Eunice Kennedy. Oh,
What kind
Chris
of name is
Pratt
that?
is her son-in-law. Anyway,
Oh, word.
none of that is important. However, so in the book, he talks about like how this like life-changing thing happened, and in it he says like this is why he had to change his life around, but he doesn't say what it is. He says, you probably already know the story, and if you don't, you can Google it. But his wife was Maria Shriver, and he cheated on her with like the nanny or something. Like and it was very public. It was like a very public divorce, and blah blah blah. But then throughout the book, and in that first like when he won't say what he did, he just kept saying like when my world collapsed,
Yeah.
which I lost so much respect for him because I don't think cheating on your spouse is horrible and terrible and life ruining for a lot of people. I don't think you need to be like ostracized from society for the rest of the life of your life, but you should also like admit to what you did. And if you're going to write an entire book about like overcoming things, you should say what that thing was that you did. And I did not like that he kept saying when my world came crashing down instead of like when I imploded my world. So
Well, he's not saying that he wasn't the one. He's just saying it did collapse and it could have been
extreme
from him.
ownership. You got to take ownership of your mistakes. You can't write a whole book about rising from the ashes when you're like kind of vague about what the inciting incident is. So
Well,
right off the bat, I was like, nah, I don't like
this is his way of like, kind of putting this behind him. Like everyone did know. I like sort of knew. I wasn't
Yeah.
totally sure. I knew it was something like that. Like I don't know any of the details, but I know I think it was when he was governor, possibly. But so like everyone does know about it. And like that's not the point of the book. The point of the book is like these lessons that he's learned, not even because of this, but like these are things that he built his life on, and getting back to those things helped him, after he made a huge mistake or whatever. Or maybe it wasn't even a mistake because he at the end he says thanks to Maria because she was a wonderful partner and a wonderful mother to my children. And then he says somebody else who he's been with for a while. I wonder if is that the same person?
Like he married the person?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I forget what the name was, but Heather or Helen or something. Anyway, that doesn't even matter. That's not the point of the book. You obviously held on to that, and I think it clouded your judgment. I thought it was awesome.
I would say so.
I thought it was great. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Arnold Schwarzenegger, super cool. The only thing that like I've seen a bunch of his movies and stuff like that, like the only thing that I've really seen of him like not acting like was Pumping Iron, which is like, from the 70s or whatever, where he's just like all juiced up bodybuilder and like, you kind of see that side of him. But when he's talking about, moving to America and like all the decisions that he had to make the whole time to do all these things that he's done, it makes it looks like it's not happenstance that he got to where he was. He made conscious decisions and said no to a lot of things to get to where he wanted to be. And it made a lot of sense. Like, he was this huge bodybuilder, just this like giant meathead. And it's like he wanted to be an actor. And it's like, you just think of Arnold Schwarzenegger now and you're like, yeah, of course he's an actor. But before he had done anything, it's just like, yeah, this is just this huge juiced up meathead. Like, yeah, he can play the Nazi soldier or the bodyguard or the bouncer, but like nobody did want him as like a leading man in any movie.
Yeah.
But he said no to all of those other opportunities because he didn't want to be pigeonholed into that. And he knew that, if you say yes to being the Nazi soldier in a movie, it's going to lead to more roles like that. You know, that's what
Mhm.
you're going to be like typecast as. So I thought that that part was really cool. Like he really had this deep belief in himself. Like, this is what I want. This is the vision. And I know that these decisions aren't going to bring me closer to it just because it's an acting gig. It's going to actually bring me further away from it.
Mhm.
And I just felt like I vibed with that a lot. I thought it was really, really just smart, and like he has a lot of power and vision and bringing things to life that he wants to do. So I thought it was awesome. I really, and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The
He
thing
I
that he
did
did
it
is in the past, and that's between them. I wasn't married
I
to him.
hey, I
I didn't
agree.
care.
I don't think that he should be I'm not saying that I think that he should be like ostracized forever. I just think that if you're going to make a giant mistake and then write a book about it, you should be like, I want to be honest, this is what happened, this is what I did, this is why it was such a big thing. Um and I did really like his message of like just complete belief in yourself, because even after, so he was bodybuilder and then they're like, then he finally broke into like action roles, and then he's like, you know what, I think I want to do comedy now. And he like really
Yeah,
fought his way to do comedy movies as well. And I think that is cool. And I like that, you know, he fought so hard and he believed so much in his, you know, role in that. Um, I just feel like there's certain things about it that become, and I guess he just has this like larger than life persona. So maybe that's just him, but like there was this whole thing in like talking about the COVID response, and he wasn't governor anymore, but he like solved the entire problem for California. And like, and he, what did he say? No one from Austria came to the United States before he did, but now because of him, he made this huge surge in Austrian like immigration to the United States just because of
Austrian
him.
meatheads just
And
because of
it's
him.
like, I don't know if that's, I mean, I didn't Google it.
Yeah,
Maybe it's true, but I was like, I feel like people from Austria were probably coming to the United States before and after. I don't know if he necessarily
probably.
had a huge thing in it, but you
Yeah,
know, that's just him. He's like a bigger than, you know, larger than life kind of guy. So, uh, but I did like the unwavering belief in himself. I think that was quite interesting.
there you go. I thought it was awesome. I
Wait,
was
I
impressed by how intelligent and how just he really like walks the walk about what he believes in himself, and he's willing to stick to it and not like compromise on that, which
yeah.
is really tough to do when you're that level of success. Like the things that are derailing you from your greater vision, it's not like little things, it's like huge opportunities still. Like you
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of huge opportunities to do more stuff in like the bodybuilding world, but he wanted to go to Hollywood, and it's like he wasn't just turning down like a minimum wage job to follow his dream, his next dream. He was turning down like hundreds of thousands of dollars, which back then was huge. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
um Probably the thing that I found the most interesting, well, not the most interesting, but that really surprised me was, do you remember what he said? Like, I mean, he's been in so many huge movies, like huge blockbusters, and what movie he's made the most money from?
Mm. Yeah.
Do you remember?
Twins.
Yeah, with Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Which I was like,
I've never
I've
actually
heard of
seen
that
that movie.
movie. What'd you say?
I've never actually seen that movie.
Me
I've
either.
heard of it, but I've never seen it.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. And it was his first comedy movie, and it was because nobody was interested in shooting this movie because he was making a lot of money at the time because he was already like this huge action star. Danny
Mm-hmm.
DeVito was like really huge then. So if they were just, on the bill of this movie, it would have been really expensive and nobody wanted to like take a chance on it. So
Mm-hmm.
they started pitching production studios like, we'll forego our salary on this, but we just want a cut of the earnings afterwards. So it eliminated a lot of risk for the production company or the whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
The is that what you call it? Like
Yeah, I
the
guess so.
studio. The
Studio,
studio.
yeah.
You're from LA, you know this stuff.
New Jersey.
So it took away a lot of the risk for them, but they believed like, hey, this is gonna be a really great movie.
Yeah.
And because of that, they were willing to not get paid on the front end, and it wasn't a huge risk for the studio. So they made the movie, and even all the other movies that he's made where he made $20 million just for being the star of, that movie he's made more than any other one because he took that risk.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. So I want to see that
That is
movie
pretty
now.
cool. That's a cool story. We should watch that at lunch one day because I would like to see it as well.
How long do you think lunch is?
Well, over a couple lunches, I guess.
Okay. We have been getting a little bit lax with the amount of time we take for lunch lately, but that's excessive. I'm sure it's at least 90 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna be away. I need you to say you're not gonna watch an entire feature length film during lunch.
I'm just
I
kidding.
mean that's basically what it's like to just have me in the background of, trying to work. It's probably about equally distracting.
Yeah, right.
So
I did like he said rest is for babies and relaxation is for retired people. That was the only quote that I wrote down from this whole book.
Okay.
I thought that was funny. He was saying like you don't rest. You don't get to rest. Work hard and don't rest.
Rest
is for babies.
Rest is for babies.
Is that your best?
I don't know.
Give it another one.
It's hard to say certain things. Like I can say, "Get to the chopper," but like to just talk like in a normal, like say other things. It's hard.
He kept
You
saying,
want to do another one?
California.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean,
it is hard. Yeah.
what a great guy, though. All right, so give us your score. What score you got for this?
5.4.
5. That's low.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I've been going really high with a lot of these. I'm gonna go 8.7. I just thought it was great. I mean, it's somebody that everybody knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I didn't know that much about, it's just his whole life. I felt like it was more of like a biography than anything. Like there was a lot of cool points in it and like cool lessons that he lives by and stuff. But I just thought it was really interesting as like a biography to know about his story. And I thought it was pretty inspiring, his extreme ownership aside of this situation and his world collapsing. But
yeah,
I thought it was super cool. I'm going to give it an 8.7. And that's where I'm at.
Okay.
So
you're pretty high with these ratings.
I know. That's just how I live my life. I like to, feel that everything is just like the best. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was great. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
What do we got for next week?
So I'm trying to look at. I know we picked one, but now it does not appear that I had
it was like
downloaded it.
It was Surrounded by Idiots or something.
Yes, Surrounded by Idiots was one that we said, but that's a long one.
Oh,
it's like 10 hours. Do you want to commit to that? Well,
I'm gonna be away.
Yeah, you're gonna be away, so that's gonna be hard for you to do.
Yeah, I forget
I think we should save Surrounded by Idiots though, because that does have good reviews and everything.
Okay.
You know what? Have we done? We started this with Atomic Habits, right?
I don't remember. We did read that. I mean, I've read that a couple times. I love that book. Let's make sure that we didn't do that. I feel like we did. I know we've talked about it many times. Yeah. We talked about when maybe we both read it like 2 years ago.
We've definitely both read it
at the same time, but I don't remember if we did it again. Let's check on that. Let's do Surrounded by Idiots. Is that what it's called?
Surrounded by Idiots by
Catherine Lippincott.
By Thomas Erickson. The 4 types of human behavior and how to effectively communicate with each in business and in life. I feel like this is going to be a good one.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to feel like the idiot that everyone needs to learn how to communicate with.
No. I think the point of it is everyone has different communication styles, and it's just you need to learn how to communicate with everybody.
Oh, it's in the end, the people aren't actually idiots. It's just you don't know how to communicate with them.
They're idiots because you can't communicate with them, but nobody's an idiot.
Yeah, it's just that, Nancy in accounting just communicates with grunts and, and head nods. She's not an idiot. She just, it's just different.
Just different. It's
All right,
okay. It's
well,
just different.
I'm excited to get into that. Surrounded by Idiots by, what is it, Tom Erickson?
Yes.
Tom Erickson. So let us know what guests you want us to have on here. I think it's going to be really cool. We're going to build out the studio. My studio is going to be looking sick. So you have you got a lot of that should be like a competition. Whose background can look cooler?
Well, there's not that much space to work with, but we'll come up with
that
something.
attitude.
Oh, I'll push this camera back. I'll get a whole wall.
Whoa. Got my Costco tree right now. That's it.
I have my big ass calendar.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right. Well, we're
way over time, so let's stop this.
Are you frozen now? Uh-oh. Well, that's pretty much all we got for today. So till next time, this has been the Hardworking Happy Hour.
See you next week.